Okay, and we're off. Our bags are packed, tickets are paid for, and we're off to the Brittany Ferry to meet up with my friend and his wife, get the ferry to Roscoff, and then head up to Bayeux to catch the end of the VE Day celebrations in Bayeux, Normandy. I'm just not a little bit excited, I'm very excited. Yes.
Hi vlog! It's Mia!
Hello.
Yay! Wow, do you want a picture? Oh, yes.
Oh, it's fabulous. Sticky behind us. Bayeux is a 4.5-5 hour drive away from Roscoff, so we'd already planned in a stop for a little leg stretch roughly halfway between Roscoff and Bayeux. We would go into the old fortified wall port of Saint Malo. What a beautiful day. Can't believe how lucky we've been so already.
We've only been here 10 minutes.
I know. But it was cloudy when we left Plymouth.
It was 10 o'clock at night. It wasn't cloudy, was it?
So we're coming to the end of our first day's drive in Normandy in France. We've got about 8 miles to go till we get to our destination of Bayeux. And this is what driving in France is all about for me. The great country roads, the bends, going for all the old villages. We're currently on a road called the D67. Never been on here before. It's a great little road. And this is going to take us all the way to Bayeux. Good morning. So we spent our first night in Bayeux, and to be honest, we were absolutely knackered. We had a Chinese meal, which lasted a couple of hours, and then we went straight to bed, and everyone had a good night's sleep. So today we've got up, had our breakfast, we're off to the British War. That's my sat-nav kicking in. So this morning we woke up and we're off to the British War Memorial down by the beaches on Arromanches. They've added a new memorial to the British War Memorial and it should be very impressive. Okay, we're now on the D112 and these D roads, they're fantastic. We've been to France loads of times and if I can get on a D road I'll take it every day. Usually there's hardly any traffic, great countryside views, just brilliant roads.
We've driven all over France over the years, and all these villages, they're all pretty much identical. They don't change from one little village to another. And one other thing that doesn't change is there's never anybody about. There's nobody walking on the streets. Where do they go?
this is it, the British War Memorial.
The British Normandy Memorial can be located in a little town called Longues-sur-Mer, and it's about a 20-minute bike ride away from Bayeux, so we were perfectly located to get there. It was unveiled on June the 6th, 2021, incredibly 77 years after the D-Day landings actually occurred. The memorial site is huge, 44 acres in total, and it's dedicated to the servicemen who died under British command during the Normandy landings. The memorial records the names of over 22,500 servicemen who fell. Some of them were no more than boys, in truth. The site records the name of the servicemen who fell in Normandy from the 6th of June 1944 to August the 31st, 1944. So the memorial we can see here is an exhibit called Standing with Giants, and it's actually 1,475 caricatures representing all factions of the armed forces, the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, but it actually goes a little bit deeper than that, and it breaks it down into specific branches and characters. But what I thought was good about the Standing with Giants memorial, it doesn't just remember those who fell, but those who made it through that day and the next few days, and who had to live with what they went through and what they saw for the rest of their lives. If you're ever up this part of the world, it's well worth going to visit and to pay your respects.
So that was the British War Memorial in Normandy, Bayeux. And now we're off to Arromanches. We're off to the beaches of Arromanches, one of the main landing sites for the D-Day landings on June the 6th. Okay, so we're going to pull into this 360-degree cinema and then walk down to Arromanches. I'm not talking to you.
D-Day 360 cinema is about a quarter of a mile on foot from Arromanches and Gold Beach, but it gives an absolutely brilliant sort of bird's eye view of what the German soldiers and what the German artillery would have been looking at on D-Day itself. You can actually see the M88 cannons, and these would have been raining down and bombarding the beaches as all the British troops would have been trying to get off the landing craft and trying to get a foothold onto the beaches themselves. We headed down into Arromanches. It's not that far. It took us about 15 minutes on foot from the 360-degree cinema, but you do have to go down quite a steep little hill. It's not that bad though. Once you get into Arromanches itself, it's just totally built up around D-Day. There's literature everywhere telling people what actually happened. There's loads of personal stories as well, which is quite a nice touch. There's also a great big museum in the centre itself, which is well worth a visit. And there's loads of cafes, little shops where you can buy some trinkets, presents, mementos. But for now, we need to get something to eat. We were all quite hungry. We planned on finding a little cafe somewhere before heading down onto Gold Beach itself for a little stroll.
So that was Gold Beach at Arromanches, Gold Beach, and that's where the British forces were tasked to take as their part in their mission to take part in D-Day. But before the ships and the troops even got there was some really great big guns not far away from here, whose job it was to take out any Allied shipping, to try and stop the Allied shipping putting the troops on the beaches in the first place. And that's where we're off to now, a place called Longues-sur-Mer, and have a look at these guns, which was designed to stop an event like D-Day happening.
After visiting the British Normandy Memorial, Gold Beach at Arromanches, and finally the guns here at Longues-sur-Mer, we decided we would call it a day and we would head back to our apartment, have some food and get another good night's sleep. We knew tomorrow would be just as busy as today, but before we left we took 10 minutes out and admired the beautiful nature to be found around here.